One of the world's premier extreme sports athletes, Danelle is known for staggering feats of endurance in adventure racing. Single and living alone, her constant companion is her dog, Taz.
I got Taz from a puppy rescue. I remember going to the shelter and there were several puppies there. This one puppy sort of stood out.
Hi.
Because he was energetic and he liked to run around and he was hyper and he had this real playful attitude about him that I liked. I sort of connected with that.
Look at this one. Oh, you're cute.
Oh. And I remember some other lady went up to Taz and was holding him. And I looked at this lady and that's my dog. He wasn't my dog just yet, you know, but I just knew that he was the one. And then so I kind of kept an eye on this lady while she was playing with Taz. And as soon as she set him down, I snatched him up and said, I want this one. There's something that drew me to Taz, that I knew that he was the one for me.
I need you to help me.
With Taz for company, Danelle is planning a routine training run through Moab's backcountry. It's a beautiful but rugged wilderness where few people ever go.
It was a sunny day, but it was cool, probably temperatures in the 30s, around 30 degrees Fahrenheit. I had my kayak on top of my truck, hopefully planning on going kayaking later that afternoon. I didn't see any bikers or hikers out, just myself and Taz.
Come on, Taz.
I brought my water bottle. At the last minute, I thought, well, I'll grab this little waist pack so I don't have to carry the water bottle in my hand. That way I could just put the water bottle in the waist pack. And it was a small waist pack with 2 zipper pockets. I didn't know what was in those pockets. I just grabbed it, and whatever was in there from my previous run was in my waist pack. And I headed out on the run.
Let's go.
I had absolutely no idea that my life was going to completely change that day.
Despite its beauty, the backcountry surrounding Moab can be hostile and dangerous. Just in the last month, 2 men have fallen victim to the deadly terrain, found frozen to death in the bitter desert night. Search and rescue teams are called out regularly to save hikers in distress. But Danelle is fearless. 6 times the winner of US Athlete of the Year, she thrives on pushing herself to the limit in the most extreme environments.
I was actually in pretty good physical condition that I usually could push myself right to that limit of pain, but not quite go over it. It actually almost feels good, like you get into the rhythm, get into the flow.
Out for that.
All of a sudden, the next thing I know, Taz was ahead of me, and my foot slipped out from under me. I almost immediately knew that I was in trouble because I couldn't stop. And I was moving fast at that point. And then the last 20 feet were an overhang. Free fall. I definitely had time to see my life kind of spin through my head and think about maybe I wasn't going to see another day. And then boom. Oh my God, I'm still alive. I didn't know what I had done to myself, but I knew I had hurt myself pretty bad.
It's a horrendous fall. The impact has shattered Danelle's pelvis into pieces, leaving her skeleton severed in two. There's nothing but soft tissue connecting her legs to the rest of her body. Super athlete Danelle goes into survival mode.
Somehow my brain didn't allow itself to think too deeply about what had happened.
Despite her terrible injuries, Danelle's endurance training kicks in, and she's determined to keep moving.
So what I did was I took my right hand and put it on my right leg, and my left hand and put it on my left leg, and I could feel my legs. And so I knew that I wasn't paralyzed. And my next reaction was, I gotta get out of this canyon. I gotta get back to my truck, and I gotta get home, or I gotta get to the hospital.
Incredibly, despite her shattered pelvis, the endurance athlete tries to stand up and run out of the canyon. But with her skeleton effectively in two, Danelle's legs cannot support her body. Unable to walk or run, she's facing her worst nightmare. Her legs useless, she's alone on a ledge, separated from her dog, Taz. Danelle is stranded in 1,000 square miles of barren, uninhabited wilderness.
I knew that I needed to get out of that canyon. The temperatures were cold, and it was the middle of winter, but I couldn't stand up, I couldn't walk. So I just started dragging myself.
With her skeleton broken in two, shattered at the pelvis, Danelle is critically injured. Most people would be in agony, but superfit athlete Danelle is experiencing an enormous adrenaline surge, masking the pain. But the problem for Danelle now is which direction to go. She's no idea if there's a safe way down from the ledge. Taz comes to Danelle's rescue.
Come there you are.
Taz has found her way back through the canyon to reach her. She is no longer alone, but Taz's appearance brings more than comfort.
Since he had gotten to where I landed, I knew that there was a route out. So I used him as my guide and kind of dragged myself where he went, along the shelf, and then back down to the bottom of the canyon.
When most people would probably have given up, Danelle has made it through the night by doing sit-ups. In the morning, she has no time to rest. She intends to crawl her way 2 miles back to her truck.
My plan was to take that gel to give me some energy and then to continue to crawl out. I thought that it would be no problem for me to continue dragging myself. And what I didn't know is that the adrenaline had gotten me through those first 5 hours right after the accident.
Danelle is in for a terrible shock. The adrenaline that protected her has completely worn off. Now, if she's to survive, she must face her ordeal with no defense against the pain flooding throughout her body.
When I tried to move, it was just throughout my whole body, just this excruciating pain. And on top of the physical pain was the mental pain of being stuck there. I would have rather had 20 people around me hitting me with the hammer. That would have been better than what I was going through. And that's when I started to think, somebody's got to notice that I'm missing. I thought maybe somebody will notice my truck is still parked there.
She is completely alone. It's nearly 24 hours since her devastating fall, and Danelle is facing a new danger: dehydration.
I was aware of how dangerous it can be to get dehydrated.
With her fresh water supply gone, only a small puddle by her side is helping her stay alive.
But it was really a struggle to drink from that water source. It was hard to get the water into my water bottle and into me. There was a lot of silt in it.
Easy for you.
As the day wears on, the risk posed by the bitter cold lingers. But a new threat emerges. Inside her body, Danelle's injuries have taken a lethal turn for the worse.
I started to feel this inflammation in my midsection, and it was kind of soft and squishy. And I remember if I tried to move, this whole jelly roll would sort of move, almost like a water balloon or something. I remember thinking at the time, oh, it's inflammation.
It's not inflammation. It's far worse. Danelle's shattered pelvis has severed blood vessels in her pelvic cavity. She's been bleeding internally for a day and a half, starving her brain and other major organs of the vital oxygen they need for her to survive. Danelle is bleeding to death. Unable to move, and facing another night in freezing temperatures, Danelle is finding it much harder to stay in control. She struggles to do her sit-ups. Worse still, she's beginning to hallucinate because of her blood loss and fatigue.
I remember looking up to the stars, and instead of them being these vivid stars where I could see the Milky Way, all I could see was these stripes in the sky. Second night felt a lot colder to me too. Felt long and cold.
What Danelle doesn't realize is that the cold is keeping her alive. Her core body temperature is now so low that her metabolism is slowing dramatically. Her blood pressure is dropping, which in turn is slowing the internal bleeding. The cold is delaying the worst, but Danelle is already living on borrowed time. As the night wears on, Danelle is fighting for her life. It's taking every ounce of willpower to avoid drifting off to sleep, where the onset of hypothermia would lead to certain death.
I remember wanting to be at home in my bed where it was warm and comfortable and where I could sleep. I had been awake this whole time and I was starting to get the sleep monsters where I wanted to sleep, but I knew I had to stay awake. And I still kept hoping somebody would notice that I was missing. The reality of the situation was that I was in the middle of nowhere, and nobody knew where I was.
Thanks to her endurance training and extraordinary willpower, Danelle has survived a second night in the freezing winter desert, where most people wouldn't have survived one. But it's unlikely she will survive another. 3 pints of blood have seeped into her pelvic cavity, and she's becoming much weaker.
On that lump around my midsection, it was blood. I couldn't see it because it was all internal, but I was losing a lot of blood. I didn't want to die, and I had to get out of the canyon, and nobody knew where I was, so I tried again. And I was determined to fight the pain and to try again.
While critically injured and exposed to freezing conditions, Danelle's endurance training has helped keep her alive for over 2 days. But the physical ordeal is wearing her down mentally.
I was pretty close to dying at that point, and I had lost hope that anybody would find me.
Now, after 51 hours, her intense willpower is breaking down. Despite increasing risk of hypothermia, she can no longer stop herself from urinating. With night bringing colder temperatures, Danelle knows that without a miracle, she'll likely freeze to death by morning. The extreme athlete has finally given in.
That's when I started to think about my life and everything that I did. I started to think about my life and everything that I did and everything that I still wanted to do. And I thought about my family and my friends and how much they meant to me. And I thought I was going to die. I mean, I was dying.
Tess. 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 I need you to help me.
Taz was there with me, and he was all I had at that point. And I said to him, I said, Taz, I'm hurt, I need help. Can you go get help?
Tess. I need you to help me. Go get me help. Tess, go find some help for me, please. Go. This is my last chance, Tess. Go!
And he turned around and he took off.
Danelle has no way of knowing that Taz has found help. She is resigned to dying out in the open. But when he returns, Danelle senses a change in his behavior.
Next thing you know, Taz came up and he came right by me and he went straight to the puddle and he started drinking from my puddle. I remember thinking, that's my lifeline, that's the only water I got. Can't you find a different puddle, Taz? But I couldn't, I couldn't say that to him, and I just pet him a few times and let him drink from the puddle. And his demeanor had changed a little bit. He had seemed to get a little bit of energy back. And then he licked my face again, and he was kind of wagging his tail a little bit, and it was sad for me to see this happy little dog that I was never gonna be with. At the same time, I heard this other sound. wasn't hopeful because I'd been screaming help for 50 some hours straight, and nobody had come to help me.
Help!
And just about the time I thought I was going to run out of road, I heard this blood-curdling scream.
Help!
I'll never forget it. And had to be Danelle.
I can't move!
The sound got closer, and the engine cut out, and I start begging, desperate begging for help, explaining that I'm hurt, telling this person, you cannot leave, I need help, I need help.
Help! Help! Please help me!
It was the best moment of my life, because I knew right then that I was going to get a second chance. I knew I was going to make it.
And it was quite emotional, because not very often do you go on a rescue where somebody's life is really quite on the edge. The look on her face was one of relief, and then the tears came.
Next thing he said to me was, you got one good dog. And I just started crying. I just laid there and started crying.
I don't think any human could have survived another night in those temperatures.
Taz's extraordinary bond with Danelle has saved her life.
Taz certainly did make the difference in shaving hours or perhaps even days off of finding Danelle. And in this rescue, she didn't have hours or days to spare. She was on the brink as it was.
I knew Taz was a smart dog, but to be able to do what he did, this was a whole nother level of communication. Suddenly, my dog was taking care of me instead of me taking care of him. I look back on it now and I'm so grateful. He's truly a best friend.
Danelle is airlifted to hospital and undergoes emergency surgery to repair the severed vessels that have pumped 3 pints of blood into her pelvic cavity. Then there's a 6-hour operation to pin her shattered pelvis back together. It's touch and go whether she'll pull through.
When we get the reports back to her medical condition, and all the doctors were saying, she really shouldn't be alive with the massive amounts of blood loss that she had, the hypothermia, the frostbite, everything combined. She should have been dead days ago. But here it is 2.5 days later, and she's smiling.
But there's another shock waiting for Danelle when she gets to see her feet for the first time in 3 days.
Laying there in the hospital bed, and they had taken my shoes off, and I finally got a glimpse of my feet, and they were black from frostbite. Every single one of my toes and then part of my foot was black. With frostbite, you just have to give it time, and eventually over the next 24 hours, slowly but surely, the color started to come back in my toes, my feet, and so I knew I was gonna be able to, my feet were gonna be okay.
The prognosis for Danelle's fractured pelvis was not so reassuring.
The doctor said that the injuries in my pelvis were pretty extensive, so I didn't know if I was going to be wheelchair-bound the rest of my life or if I was going to be able to walk again.
Her life has been saved, but her body may be shattered beyond repair. Doctors fear she may never walk again. "25-year-old Linda Skvarna is preparing to set off on an epic solo driving trip.
I had 3 weeks vacation from work. It was definitely an escape, just a time to get away from the stresses of everyday life.
A student nurse from Pittsburgh, Linda is heading off across the length of America. A trip that she hopes will satisfy her sense of adventure.
I was kind of a rebel at times, my own idea about things. You know, when you're young and 25, the world doesn't seem so dangerous. I just wanted to see America.
Linda spends 2 weeks traveling over 2,000 miles across the country. But before she heads home, she wants to make the trip extra special with a final hike into the mighty Grand Canyon.
It was one of the places that I wanted to visit because it's one of the natural wonders of the world.
The Grand Canyon is known as an epic tourist destination, but it's also a popular place for hiking.
Come on.
Before she heads off into the canyon, Linda stops off at a local store to buy postcards and let her family know that she's fine.
On one of the postcards, I saw a set of waterfalls, and I thought, oh, you know, I'd like to see those. But I wasn't sure where you leave and what kind of a hike it was.
Do you know if there are any organized tours to the waterfalls?
No organized tours as such. If you drive up to the hilltop campsite, you can make your way down to the Supai village, and the falls are right down there.
Okay, that's good. Thanks.
So I wrote my postcards up, and I recall sending one off to my brother and sister-in-law.
To get to the waterfalls, Linda and Coco Jin must first drive to a staging post at the beginning of the hike.
I didn't know that it would take me as long as it did because it was, I think, maybe about 35 miles. But it was all dirt road, so it took me a couple of hours to get through that and to finally get to the hilltop.
By the time they get there, it's already lunchtime. It's late in the day to be setting off on a hike. But undeterred, Linda heads off into the valley.
Yeah, come on.
Yes, I was overwhelmed by the size and the enormity of it. It made me feel small.
Linda's backpack weighs over 20 pounds and is slowing her down.
I knew I could make better time without it because it was beginning to feel very heavy on my back.
Ditching the backpack will mean leaving behind her sleeping bag, food, and only supply of water.
I would have nothing except, you know, the clothes that I had on my back and a few items that I had in my purse.
With no experience of being out in the wild, Linda makes a terrible decision.
I thought I could always come back for it the following morning.
Coco.
My priority at that point in time was just to make it to the Indian reservation, make it somewhere safe before dark.
Hello!
But as night falls, Linda and Coco are just tiny specks in the vast canyon floor.
Is anybody there?
Yeah, I was totally alarmed with getting dark and not being where I needed to be. That was my realization that I wasn't on the right trail.
And with the light fading, Linda has no chance of retracing her steps to her backpack.
You start thinking about the worst sort of things that can happen and just kind of overcome by fear.
Is anybody there? Help me!
The first night was devastating. It was very, very scary. You just can't see, you know, other than the stars that are out. There's no artificial lighting of any kind.
As the temperature on the canyon floor plummets, Linda is totally unprotected against the cold.
In my backpack, I had my sleeping bag, and I had all my food supply and my water.
In the pitch black night, it's impossible for Linda to find her backpack.
So without that, I really had nothing to protect me from the elements and nothing to sustain me.
Her only source of comfort is her best friend, her pet dog, Coco Jin.
Coco Jin just stayed by me. I was thankful to have him because we could cuddle up with one another, and you know, he would offer some warmth. I cried off and on, I think, the entire night, just out of fear and not knowing what was going to happen to me. I remember getting very, very hot. I was thirsty and I had nothing to eat or drink. My mouth was just terribly, terribly dry.
In these conditions, human beings need around 2 gallons of water a day.
My nurse's training told me that I needed to have water, that there was no way I was going to be able to survive without water. I knew I could live without food, but the water was going to be essential because it's so hot during the day down there. And I guess real fear set in at that point.
Coco. Come on.
If I had been completely alone without the dog, I think I would have fallen apart.
You tired? Pretty tired right now.
I would talk to him. I'm sorry I got you into this, Coco. But we'll find our way out, you know, trying to keep positive.
But by early evening, Linda realizes she and Coco Jin are still completely lost within the vast wilderness.
I knew I was going to be down there another night.
Now able to collect a few mouthfuls of water, Linda decides to hike away from the spring in search of a trail out of the canyon.
My new plan was to drink as much water as I could before I would set off that day, so I would be hydrated, and then follow a trail and see where it would possibly lead to. As long as I can retrace my steps and get back to my water supply, because I knew that that was paramount.
For 5 days, Linda searches north, south, east, and west of her base. But each day ends in crushing disappointment. After 11 freezing nights out in the wilderness, a violent storm blows into the canyon.
I built a shelter for myself in between 2 rocks that came out of the sand, and then I took some of the shrubbery around and built a little roof on top.
But the makeshift shelter does little to keep off the torrential rain and provides no defense against the predators lurking in the undergrowth.
As I was trying to fall asleep, I heard some rustling. I became alert and threw a handful of sand in the direction that I thought I heard the sound. And then I heard a hissing sound.
Fearful of deadly rattlesnakes hiding in the bush, Linda is forced to abandon the shelter.
It was one of the toughest nights. There was thunder and lightning and a lot of rain, and it was very frightening down there because I didn't have any shelter. I was out in the open. It was definitely cold, and definitely that was a concern, the hypothermia.
Alone, miles from civilization, Linda knows she must find the mental strength to survive.
I started to think of ways to occupy my mind, and I said a rosary, and then I started to sing songs, just something to keep me occupied, to get me through that night.
Once more, Linda is alone. But following the horses has led her to a welcome sight.
I noticed pools of water, and I remember looking at it and seeing little insects or whatever swimming around in it, and I thought, well, I don't really have any other choice except to drink it because that's the only way I'm going to survive. The water was kind of bitter, but it was wet, and I knew it would get me through another day.
As night falls, Linda drifts in and out of consciousness and is haunted by nightmares and fear.
I had started having dreams of animals coming and eating out my eyes.
Now seriously malnourished, Linda is starting to fantasize about an end to her hunger.
I began thinking about food quite a bit. And so I would kind of just sit there on a rock, you know, and think about dinner menus, writing those out in my journal. Spare ribs and potatoes au gratin, tossed salad, and cauliflower with hollandaise sauce. So kind of vicariously, I was eating through my menus that I would write. I was sitting there resting, and I decided that I was gonna brush my hair. For what purpose, I wasn't sure.
Almost 3 weeks after getting lost, Linda finally hears the sound she's been yearning for.
I can hear the wings going around, and I knew it was close.
Back in Pittsburgh, when Linda fails to arrive at work, her family finally realizes she's missing, and prompted by the postcard she sent them, they've triggered an aerial search of the canyon. It seems her ordeal is finally over. But Linda is impossible to see from the air.
It was devastating that they didn't see me, but I could figure out why.
Linda realizes that if she can't be seen from the air in the vast canyon, the chances are she'll never be found. Linda's brother and sister-in-law have now joined the search. But when they arrive at the campsite that Linda began her hike from, they're greeted with a sight that fills them with foreboding.
That's her car, right?
Yeah.
Linda's car has been broken into, but is still exactly where she left it almost 3 weeks ago.
We were told that there was virtually no chance that Linda would be alive if she were lost in the canyons. There wasn't much chance we could even find her body. We were on a gruesome kind of mission. The scary part was that all the canyons look the same, and they're not marked by anything except for an occasional old wooden sign.
They arrive at the same sign where Linda mistakenly turned right and out into the wilderness.
Which way do you think?
I don't know. Will I canyon? This way. Maybe.
Linda's brother and sister-in-law turn left towards the Supai village and away from where Linda remains stranded in the canyon.
I was afraid for Linda. The chance of survival after being lost in a place like that just seems so remote.
Mentally and physically exhausted and dangerously dehydrated, Linda finally gives up all hope of ever getting out alive. Now, death is her only way out.
My priority was to find a place where I could just fall asleep and then hopefully die in my sleep. I thought, this is probably going to be it. I remember lying down and thinking, if I could maybe just die in my sleep, that would be the most peaceful way to go. I thought, you know, if I don't make it out of here, my parents will never really know what happened. My mother had lost a brother, her baby brother. And, you know, here's a woman that had gone through a lot of trauma in her younger years. And to me, that was kind of devastating to think that they would be going through that.
After 19 days, battling to stay alive, Linda finally gives up.
I heard voices, and it was almost like, is it a figment of my imagination or is it for real?
4 Native Americans from the local village had noticed footprints in an area where tourists don't venture, and using traditional tracking methods, have managed to locate Linda in the vast canyon.
You could tell by the looks on their faces that they were kind of amazed to find me alive. It was just joyous.
And waiting for her in the nearby Indian village are her brother and sister-in-law.
She looked wonderful and she looked horrible. She was skeletal looking and she was the color of bricks from the canyon soil.
It was just very emotional. It was the best feeling in the world.
The 3 of us just grabbed each other and put our heads together and just howled, really. You know, the tears just flowed.
But then, for Linda, the best surprise of all. The locals have also found Coco Gin, wandering lost amidst the canyon.
That was a happy reunion, too. Yeah, I was very happy. There was a lot of things that I didn't do correctly, a lot of things, and I, to this day, can't figure out why. With all the big mistakes that I made, you know, how I was able to survive.
Despite her ordeal, Linda made a full recovery and went on to get married and raise a family.
I just didn't think it was my time to go. And that stayed with me, and the persistence and the will, the strong will to survive.
And postgraduate physics students Sonia Rendell and Marnie Shepherd have left their books behind for a 3-day hike in the Southern Alps of New Zealand.
It looks so cute. They don't look real. They're gonna feel pretty real once we're up there.
25-year-old city girl Sonia has just split with her boyfriend and is taking time out to clear her head.
I was heartbroken, so it was a good opportunity just to get away and start thinking about where my life was going.
Sonia had a bit of a split up just beforehand, so this hike was something I hoped that Sonia would enjoy.
At 36, Marnie's already a veteran mountaineer. This trip was her idea.
I've always loved the mountains. It brings a lot of happiness for me anyway, to feel like I'm part of nature.
The women have rarely hung out socially, until now.
Sonia and I are very different in some ways. Sonia's a lot more sociable person. She's also a bit more of a glamour person.
How are your new boots?
Oh, they're good. I really like the colours. What do you think?
I'd never hiked with Marnie before.
I don't care what they look like. Are they comfortable?
She's a very experienced climber, and I knew that I was going to be in completely safe hands.
It's going to be a challenging hike. They face 3 long days of walking and rock scrambling. They'll overnight in hiking shelters along the way. Marnie's come up with a 60-kilometer route that will take them through mountain passes right across the Southern Alps to the west coast. Beautiful and remote, this wilderness can also be lethal. Even in the New Zealand summer, the weather can change without warning. And Marnie has heard that a storm system is heading their way.
Even though the forecast was bad, it was still supposed to be a day or so away. We were hoping to complete the trip before the weather turned bad.
Unwilling to abandon the trip, Marnie decides that they can climb up to another ridge.
I was hoping if we climbed a little higher, we could get through.
We can't get across here, but if we nip out there, I reckon we can make it.
I was a little bit surprised. It looked like it would just be a long, long climb.
What, that ridge way up there?
But I completely trusted Marnie's judgment.
Okay.
Okay. She basically just said, you know, follow my route, so it was always her that went first.
Now you just want to watch out for the loose scree. You don't want to scuff your new boots.
What starts as a scramble quickly turns into a serious climb. And as they get higher, novice climber Sonia starts getting nervous.
There were points where you didn't have proper handholds. It was quite a surreal experience because it was a mix between adrenaline and being scared and adrenaline and being scared again.
Kick away the loose stuff and jam your toe into that bit.
To find a way around the ice, the women have to climb higher and higher. Marnie has underestimated the severity of the ascent and overestimated her friend's climbing ability.
Marnie, this is just crazy.
Sonia was beginning to get scared of the train, and with very good reason.
When I looked down, it was an incredibly long fall. It was just pure sharp rock. So if you did slip, then you were going to break some bones. That did set in panic for me. I froze on the side of the mountain.
It was a very big mistake on my part taking Sonia into that terrain. Your survival depends on you being careful about what you're doing, and if you panic, you're not being careful.
Marnie needs to calm Sonia down, fast.
Just relax and take some breaths, okay?
It was terrifying. If you fell, you would fall down hundreds of feet and die. You couldn't afford to fall.
Marnie, I can't do this. This is too hard. I'm gonna go back down. Sonia? Sonia, you can't go back down. It's too dangerous.
I was quite certain then it was better for us to keep carrying on going uphill, because climbing up is a lot easier than going down. It's a lot safer.
We've got to keep going up, okay? Don't look down. Keep calm. Try and find a foothold.
Against her every instinct, Sonia presses on. After 4 hours of climbing, they're nearly 200 meters up a near vertical cliff face. At last, the summit is within reach. But now, they hit another problem. The rock above them is dangerously unstable.
It's a case of what looks like solid rock falling apart. And if you're relying on that to hold some of your weight, well, that's a disaster.
I put my foot on the rock and it fell from underneath my foot.
Marnie, this is crumbling!
I couldn't hold on to the rock much longer. It was very scary.
What do I do? Shift your weight!
I was clinging on, trying to scramble my other foot or wedge it into the rock just to get one solid foothold. I knew if I were to fall further, it would be disastrous.
Help me! Sonia, look at me.
Experienced climber Marnie has managed to scramble down.
Okay.
Now she has to calm Sonia and guide her back to safety.
Now get that leg and swing it round. I've got you, Sonia. I've got you. Ready? Yep. Go. Yes. I can't do this anymore. I can't go on any further.
Sonia's safe, but the shock of the fall has drained her strength. and her confidence.
We've got to keep moving.
I really needed to stop because mentally and physically I couldn't last much longer.
Come around and up. Put your hands where I put mine.
Pushing on, the women face a dilemma. The terrain above is even steeper, yet going back down is out of the question.
The rock quality was really poor. The rock you're standing on and the rock you're holding, all of it could just crumble.
Marnie realizes she can't push Sonia any further.
I want to stop. I can't go on.
She needs to find a spot where they can take a break.
I think I see something.
There was a very small, flat patch, and it was the only safe place on that entire, cliff section.
It was an absolute relief. I could just sit down and take a deep breath and get my composure.
Marnie's decision to climb the rock face almost ended in tragedy. Now Sonia is regretting putting her life in her new friend's hands.
What were you thinking, Marnie?
I knew that I had climbed parts of that mountain, which was just mad.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's my fault.
I was feeling bad that I'd got Sonia into this position, but also totally focused on getting out of it.
We wait 5 minutes and then we push up to the top.
Marnie knows that the top of the ridge isn't far above them, but Sonia just can't face another grueling climb.
I was hoping that we would get up in the morning and it would just take us an hour or so to complete that section, and then we would be safe after that.
At 1,500 meters above sea level, even in summer, the temperature plummets at night. Soon it's only a couple of degrees above zero. And since the women planned to overnight in hikers' huts, they've brought barely any survival gear.
I wasn't expecting it to be as cold as it was, and we weren't prepared in terms of, very warm clothing.
Okay.
It was miserable.
It's bitterly cold, but Marnie and Sonia figure it's only for one night.
Keep it tucked in there.
Then, dark clouds start to roll in. This is Marnie's worst nightmare.
Once it started raining, I knew we were in trouble because it was a storm and it was going to rain heavily, that was for sure.
The bad weather, forecast for the next day, arrives early. Marnie knows that trying to climb on wet rocks is lethal. Until the rain stops, they are trapped.
No, we won't be going anywhere in this rain.
How long do you reckon it will rain for?
Might clear by dawn. Rocks will be dry by afternoon.
I didn't feel that she was that upset. To begin with, she may have even been slightly relieved that we could put off going anywhere.
Their flimsy waterproofs are no match for the deluge. And soon, they're soaked to the skin.
Once the rain gets down your collar and your legs are wet, morale just gets worse and worse and worse.
But their ordeal is only just beginning. A deadly rumble is growing all around them.
What was that?
Loosened by the torrential rain, massive boulders start to crash down. smashing all around Sonia and Marnie.
Oh my God!
You could hear the rocks falling on the mountain. I thought, this is it. It's only a matter of time.
They're gonna hit us!
There was really a constant stream of rocks rolling down either side of us. Some of them only a few metres away from us.
It was very scary. We just knew there was absolutely nothing we could do.
All the women can do is pray that none of the rocks will smash into them.
I just couldn't believe that we'd ended up in a situation like this.
After what seems like an eternity, the rockfall eases.
When they stopped, we were just absolutely relieved. But we just didn't sleep that night. We were so concerned about, what we were going to do in terms of the climb the next day.
By daybreak, the exhausted women are desperate to make their escape. But the rain isn't stopping.
Sonia, you'll have to stay put until the rain clears.
There was no way we could go anywhere. We had no option but to stay where we were until the weather cleared.
The crumbling rock face is now slippery as well. Any attempt to climb would be suicidal. Neither woman owns a mobile phone, so they have no way of calling for help. They decide a meal will raise their spirits.
We thought that the rain was going to pass in 1, maybe 2 days, so we thought there was no reason to ration the food. We still had a good 1.5 days worth of food left, so we ate normally.
The decision not to ration their meager food supply is highly risky. Storms in the Southern Alps can last up to a week. As night falls again, rain shrouds the mountain. And the temperature plunges towards zero.
I am so cold.
Soaking wet and chilled to the bone, the women start to shiver. And Marnie realizes this is becoming a survival situation. The women aren't expected back until Christmas Day, 2 days away. So nobody will be raising the alarm. And now Marnie isn't sure they can last that long.
I was very concerned that we were starting to deteriorate and at risk of falling asleep and not being able to wake up.
As Christmas Eve dawns, Sonia and Marnie have been awake for over 100 hours. And their brain chemistry is starting to play tricks on them.
Once you start to get dangerously weak, it's like, am I hallucinating or am I awake?
Hey! No napping.
Sleep deprivation can have the same effect as being drunk.
This was your idea, Marnie. You're the one losing it.
You're such a freak.
It can also cause hallucinations. And uncontrollable rages.
You were the one that said it was a good idea to go up the track in the first place. This is your fault that we were stuck on this stupid ledge. We shouldn't even have climbed it. We should have just gone. We would have gone up, but you were sitting here and you would have moved.
The women's simmering resentments finally boil over.
I'm not meant to know this. Are you using your brain?
I was thinking what I'd done in my life to deserve punishment like this. I just wanted to go home.
Run asleep.
I was really worried that she was going to take a nap.
If Sonia falls asleep, Marnie fears she will never wake up.
We couldn't let ourselves go to sleep at all.
On the frozen ledge, Sonia and Marnie wait for rescue to arrive. They know that alcohol will only worsen their thirst, but for now, all that matters is the wine's comforting warmth.
It was just gold in your mouth, basically.
The bottle of wine was a great morale booster.
It was gone pretty quick.
But gambling on the prospect of imminent rescue is a big mistake. Rescuers have only the vaguest idea where to look for the women. In this vast wilderness, Marnie and Sonia's chances of survival are slipping away.
The fact that a whole day had passed and we hadn't been rescued was just heartbreaking. If there was an air search and rescue, we would have been rescued by now. The reality dawned that we were going to be stuck for some time.
16 kilometers away down in the valley, park rangers scramble rescue helicopters and foot patrols to hunt for the women. But with a search area spanning hundreds of kilometers, the chances are 1 in a million. Back on the ledge, the women are regretting the bottle of wine. The alcohol has dehydrated them further, worsening their raging thirst. But violent winds make collecting rainwater impossible.
Even though there was torrential rain, we couldn't collect any of that water. It was always at an angle that you just couldn't get to it. The only way we could get water was actually off or sucking out of the sleeping bags.
The same sleeping bags that have been soaking up their urine.
I thought, well, this is nasty, tasted gross. That last of our worries was getting, some germs from the water in the sleeping bag. So all we had to do was grab a little bit next to us and suck on it.
On the ledge, the women remain prisoners for a 7th day. The wet rocks are as slippery as ice, making climbing impossible.
It really didn't stop raining at all. We were incredibly unlucky.
I was depressed. The weather was still incredibly bad. It was getting colder and colder.
Then, just as they're starting to give up hope, the sound they've been longing for.
Hey! Hey!
We were absolutely over the moon. We just knew that we were going to be rescued.
I'm here! Sonia! Son! Son! I'm here! Sonia! Hello! I'm here!
When the helicopters didn't spot us, I was incredibly disappointed.
1,200 meters up in the mountains, the bad weather makes them invisible to the search choppers.
The helicopters had no chance of finding us in the bad weather.
Their dreams of rescue are shattered. After more than a week on the rain-lashed ledge, the women's feet are becoming seriously infected.
Keep it moving. Get some blood into it.
We both had trench foot, which had killed off the nerves in the feet. Our feet were totally numb.
Even if the weather clears, climbing on their numb and damaged feet will be next to impossible.
It was very scary. I actually started to think that we could die there.
best known route was driving to the head of the valley up to here and then making their way across.
Since Sonia's sister Nikki raised the alarm, rangers have spent 4 days scouring the search area, both on foot and from the air. But there's no sign of the women.
We could be looking for bodies.
The search turned into a body hunt.
It's when fear kicks in. How do you live a normal life when your sister is nowhere?
After 8 days of solid rain.
Do you hear that? What? The rain. Don't hear the rain.
The downpour finally stops. It's the answer to their prayers.
Thank God. Hang on. No, this is no good.
The rain gives way to snow, and their nightmare deepens.
It was feeling like you were sitting in a bathtub of ice cubes.
Oh, it's so cold.
The sub-zero chill brings the threat of hypothermia even closer. And by dawn, the freezing temperatures have attacked Sonia's exposed and swollen feet.
Now, Sonia had frostbite on her feet. She was very distressed. But there was really nothing I could do about it.
It was very scary. It was really your body starting to shut down.
That's when I knew that, you know, even 1 more day or 2 more days, it could be it.
Parched with thirst, Sonia can't resist eating the snow, even though she knows it could catastrophically lower her core body temperature.
I knew I shouldn't be eating snow, but I thought, what the hell, I'm going to do it anyway. I was desperate and I needed to have it.
It's only going to make it colder.
We were beyond desperate at that stage.
As Sonia and Marnie endure their 9th day without sleep, the weather veers between snow and freezing rain, and they can no longer fight the urge to shut their eyes.
I knew that falling asleep meant dying. I just really needed to let go.
It was very, very heartbreaking. You start to lose your resolve. You start thinking like, oh, maybe I could have a little bit of a nap. It's a sign that you're probably about to die yourself.
It was a shock. We could actually see some blue sky. It was the best thing that we'd ever seen.
Realizing that no rescuers are coming, Marnie and Sonia decide to take their fate into their own hands.
I don't want to wait to get caught here in another storm.
I was so incredibly weak and so incredibly tired, but we were determined that we would definitely climb out no matter what.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
If we died trying to climb out, that was better than dying in that crack.
When the rock dries, they'll climb. Trying to climb on their damaged feet is near suicidal. But if they stay put, they're convinced they'll die. Back at the ranger station, the authorities call off the search for the women's bodies. But Sonia's sister Nikki can't bring herself to leave.
Your heart aches, it breaks that your younger sister, your little sister, has gone out and it isn't going to return.
One of the helicopter pilots takes pity on Nikki. He offers to give her a ride over the wilderness that claimed Sonia, to say goodbye to her sister. The women prepare to climb. They haven't slept in 10 days, and they can barely feel their infected, frost-bitten feet.
My feet were swollen to the point where your skin was going to crack. But the only thing that we were thinking about was how we were going to climb out.
They're determined to escape their prison, or die in the attempt. Nikki's been told that Sonia must be dead. But she can't stop herself scanning the terrain for any sign of her sister.
You put your hand where I put mine.
I'll follow you. You ready?
Don't look down.
By some miracle, Nikki has stumbled across Sonia and Marnie amid hundreds of square kilometers of wilderness.
It's my sister!
It was just absolutely euphoric. We were over the moon. I think we looked at each other and we hugged each other and we thought, thank God.
They were laughing and happy and crying, and it was amazing.
We made it, Marnie. We made it.
The word relief is an understatement.
The helicopter rushes Sonia and Marnie to safety. The wrecked nerves in the women's feet take 3 painful weeks to grow back. Sonia never went climbing again. But Marnie would return to the mountains 10 months later.
I'm pretty sure I promised Sonia I wouldn't do that to anyone again. But I still love the mountains. I still love tramping. And I'm definitely more careful now about what I do with people.
The two women remain friends.
I think I probably wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Marnie. It was definitely her strength that got both of us through it.